Hello guys, welcome to 428 Shibuya Scramble. Just a quick side note before we begin. I don't think there's any sound settings or anything, so I apologize if it's too loud or I'm too quiet, either or. But I don't really know much about this game, so let's just get into it. Yes.
途中ですがニュースをお伝えします。新宿区オフィスビル立てこもり事件の速報です。今朝新宿6丁目のオフィスビルに目出し帽をかぶった40歳前後とみられる男が従業員数人を人質に取り立てこもりました。その後数時間経った今も男は会社員の話によりますと、立てこもっている男は北島という男である可能性が高いとのことです。その男は以前からこのビル内のある企業との仕事上の取引があり、金銭上のトラブルが絶えなかったということです。今回の立てこもりはそのトラブルに端を発したものではないかと見方が強まっています。
Shibuya's story is yours to tell. Blue. As you play through the game, the various mechanics will be explained. In 428, you follow the stories of multiple protagonists at once. Your decisions impact their experiences as you read the story. What does the day hold in store? Their fate is in your hands. Hopefully, you can see them all through to the end. To start, you have two characters, Shinya Kano and Achi Endo. Let's begin by checking out Kano's story. Just 2 more minutes to go. Shinya Kano noted the time again on his watch, scowling at the slow creep of the second hand. The time was 9:58 a.m. Furrows of consternation creased his forehead. He wasn't nervous, but he knew better than to expect everything to go smoothly. Keeping a level head was proving rather difficult. There was no room for failure. Lives were on the line here. He eyed his surroundings. Was the perp really going to show up? When? Where would he be coming from? How would he make his approach? The Shibuya Scramble was as packed as ever. A throng of people crossing this way and that, blissfully unaware of the dozens of detectives hidden in its mist. Alright, another minute and a half. Kano glanced down at his watch yet again. A mere 30 seconds had passed. Detective Kano had been with the enforcement arm of Shibuya's Criminal Affairs section for a year now, but he'd never been part of an operation this big before. He eyed the young woman standing beside the statue up ahead. She was small enough to get lost in the crowd, and she carried a nondescript attaché case? Hitomi Osawa, age 19. The attaché case in her hands contained a full 50 million yen in cash. Yesterday, her twin sister, Maria, had been kidnapped. This was the ransom payment. The culprit had called Hitomi last night at home, referring to her by name and telling her to wait by the statue of Hachiko in Shibuya. It was almost time, but nothing. Kano was staring fixedly at the second hand on his watch when a homeless man sitting on the sidewalk murmured just loud enough for him to hear. "Come on, Kano, quit looking at your watch so much. What if the kidnapper sees you?" Kano tried to look nonchalant as he lifted his eyes, but the scruffy character continued. "You're too nervous. Just relax already." "You're the one acting suspicious, Sasayama." Kano frowned. "Why would some homeless guy be talking to me?" Yuji Sasayama was the senior officer of the Shibuya Precinct's Criminal Affairs Division, 5 years older than Kano. Some words and phrases in the text appear in blue. These are called tips. Press square to underline a tip, then press X. This will let you read some extra info relating to that word or phrase. There are tips containing general knowledge and ones that are 428 specific. These are marked with a magnifying glass and 428 respectively. Okay. Yes. 428 Shibuya Precinct. Official name. 32 neighborhoods. He always went a little overboard with the disguises. He claimed it was all part of the job, but word around the station was that he just liked playing dress-up. "Hey pal, spare some change?" Sasayama lurched to his feet and shuffled in close to Kano. Hey, knock that off. Fittingly for the part, Sasayama reeked pretty badly. Well, ain't so suspicious now, huh? He clung to Kano with mock camaraderie, despite the younger man's attempts to pull away. Come on, Sasayama, cut it out! Sasayama's blithe confidence rattled Kano's nerves. Of course there was good reason for that confidence. This was Kano and Sasayama's jurisdiction, but they were positioned a good distance from where the handoff was to take place. Jurisdiction, particular region. The statue of Hachiko was surrounded by the elite investigators from one of HQ's special investigation teams. Sometimes two or more tips will appear on a single screen. Press square repeatedly to change which word to underline. Highlight the tip you wish to read. Press reading. Okay. Statue of Hachiko. Kano and his partner were just there to provide backup if the kidnapper attempted to flee. Look, just try to relax, we'll be fine. Sasayama gave him a wink. A moment later, the radio squawked in Kano's ear. Alright everyone, it's time. Keep your eyes open. The voice coming in through the earpiece was Koji Kuze, HQ's operations director. Serious crime. Until last year, he'd been the Shibuya precinct's head detective and Kano's supervisor. We don't know when the perp is going to make contact. Don't let your guard down. Kuze's low, gravelly voice echoed in Kano's ear. You don't sound too worried, Kuze. Kano winced at Sasayama's words. How could the man be so nonchalant? The appointed time had come and gone. Something should be happening. Whap! Kano smacked himself in the thigh to release a little tension. The sound was louder than he intended. Though the suit hid his muscular physique, it did little to dampen the noise. He needed to stay focused. He might be called to action at any moment. The department handled abduction cases according to a certain standard investigation procedure. Was it an attempt to extort money, or was the motive something personal? The answer to that question determined how they deal with the criminal. And based on the investigation team's initial findings this time around, they probably weren't dealing with a professional kidnapper. Still, in all likelihood, it was someone with quite a long rap sheet. Probably someone who knew the family, but so far they had few leads on who might bear such a grudge. With the situation so unclear, the plan was to apprehend whomever came to make the handoff on site. If the culprit ran with the money, there'd be no guarantee of the hostage's well-being. Still nothing, Sasayama muttered. There he is! He's here! Kuze broke in, his voice spiking into an excited chirp. Whee! Subject is a young male in his 20s, wearing a bandana and an orange hoodie. Kuze, normally calm and stoic, was now squawking like an excited child. That only happened when he got particularly worked up. Kano and Sasayama steeled themselves. They could see the subject now. A 20-something male nonchalantly approached. He told me to talk to her. Alright, people. Be ready to grab this guy. Kuze was stationed in the mobile command center, not far from the intersection. keeping tabs on the situation via video surveillance from the camera team. The young man started speaking enthusiastically to Hitomi. The detectives watched, uncertain. Was this really the kidnapper? That's gotta be him. You'll encounter selections like this during the story. These choices will change the lives of other people in addition to changing your own fates. Current choice will not impact you or any of the other protagonists. That's gotta be him. Kano took a step forward, then hesitated. Yes, that was him, alright. Kano took a step forward. Hold it, Sasayama yanked him back. Don't be so hasty. But just watch for a minute. Sasayama gestured with a nod. With Hitomi steadfastly ignoring him, the young man slunk away. Guess it wasn't him. Kano felt the tension of the moment linger in his spine. Guy must have been hitting on her, Sasayama muttered. I mean, she is pretty cute and all. He had a point. Though, of course. Something in Sasayama's voice made Kano brace himself. She's got nothing on my Mi-chan. Mi-chan was Sasayama's wife. They'd gotten married just last month. Let me tell you, Kano, married life is the best. You gotta hurry up and give it a try for yourself. This was Sasayama's favorite topic lately, and Kano was getting more and more fed up with it. Sasayama, come on, just knock it off, okay? The phrase had become a common refrain of his since the department partnered them. Fine, fine. Let's talk about your girlfriend then. Huh? Now? You can't be serious. Sasayama leaned in close again. What's she like? We are not having this conversation. Kano muttered, looking away. Aw, come on. Sasayama set his head on Kano's chest, still playing the homeless troublemaker. Show me your phone. Let me see your lock screen. Huh? Sasayama pawed for the phone. You got a pic of your girl in your lock screen, yeah? I do not. But he did. It was scary how on the mark Sasayama's instincts were. Hey, cut it out. We're in the middle of an investigation. I am investigating, Sasayama chuckled as he plucked the phone from Kano's pocket. His face scrunched up with astonishment as he looked at the lock screen. The heck is this? It's not... Ain't this Masami Nagahama? National Star, Morning Soap. Kano realized he had to bite the bullet. No, that's my girlfriend. Her name's Rumi, and she's... Sasayama cut him off. You're telling me this ain't Masami Nagahama, the famous actress? Masami Nagahama. Because this right here is Masami Nagahama. Like I said, you sly old dog. Trying to make like you're dating Masami Nagahama. I'm not. I mean, I guess Rumi does kind of look like her. Sasayama let out a huff. For real? You really think I'm gonna fall for that? There's nothing to fall for, I swear. Sasayama scowled, unconvinced. Alright, then why don't you marry her? Kano stammered, but he had no answer. The truth was, he would have happily married her already. But there were obstacles that needed to be overcome. Okay, playtime's over. Let's focus on the job. Sasayama handed back Kano's phone and turned his gaze back to Hitomi. Kano let out a quick, uneasy sigh. But his shoulders did feel looser. Maybe Sasayama had been trying to relieve a bit of the tension. Maybe he should be grateful. By now, several minutes had passed since the guy with the papers had gone away. He peered at Hitomi. The strain on her face was visible. In addition to the weight of the attached case itself, the 5,000, 10,000 yen bills it held weighed close to 6 kilos. Her slender arms must have been getting tired. Still, she refused to set the case down. She wasn't taking any chances with her sister's life. The kidnapping case had begun the day before, at around 7 p.m. This is MPD Dispatch. The Shibuya precinct is reporting a missing person, believed to be an abduction. Subject is Maria Osawa, a 19-year-old student at Midoriyama Academy, last seen at the LL Diner near campus. A man was allegedly seen forcing her into a car nearby. All officers in the vicinity report to the scene at once. Kano and Sasayama had been working a burglary case in Jingamai's 5th district when they got the call. The two arrived at the LL Diner at 7:15 p.m. At roughly the same time, several other officers showed up to secure the area, blocking off entry to nearby roadways and monitoring the surrounding establishments. Inside the restaurant, Kano and Sasayama were met by the girl who'd reported the kidnapping. It was the victim's twin sister, Hitomi. "Could you tell us about when Maria was taken, starting from the very beginning?" Kano said, keeping his voice low.
My sister and I, we were supposed to go to a party together today."
Hitomi was trembling, her voice hoarse.
"But I messed up the time. I showed up right at 7, an hour later than I was supposed to."
So Maria had gone alone to the party, a mixer for locals and exchange students. Hitomi, arriving late, had showed up just in time to glance out through the restaurant window and see her sister getting shoved into a car. She described the vehicle as a blue station wagon of Japanese make. Why would something like this happen to her? Hitomi held back her tears, but she was shaking all over. "Did you get a look at the kidnapper?"
"Yes, it was a man, middle-aged."
There was another eyewitness, Leland Palmer. He identified himself as a lecturer at Hitomi and Maria's school. "I saw too. It's like Hitomi says. I heard Hitomi cry out, and so I went to the window to look. And..." His Japanese was halting, as if he hadn't been in the country very long. "And I think that maybe the kidnapper was working alone." Leland explained that he'd seen the man shove Maria into the back seat, then clamber into the driver's seat. If he had an accomplice, one they had been driving? Neither Hitomi nor Leland had gotten a look at the suspect's face. Kano was interviewing others who had been on the scene, looking for other potential witnesses when his phone rang. It was Yoshio Kajiwara, one of the senior detectives. "We've set up a task force for the investigation. Get back to the station once you have a handle on the situation there." Barely half an hour had passed between the time the kidnapping was reported and the time the task force began operation. When Kano and Sasayama got back to the precinct station, Kuze had already arrived from HQ. Informed them a response team had been formed to investigate the victim's home. Kano could feel a peculiar tension in the air. Unfamiliar MPD detectives scurried to and fro around the Shibuya offices. He pulled one of them aside to get a quick update. An hour had now passed since the kidnapping. There had been one new development. The perpetrator had made a threatening call to the victim's home. He said the following: "Tomorrow, 10 a.m., by Hachiko in Shibuya. Have the sister, Hitomi, bring 50 million yen. If not, the girl's life is forfeit. Kajiwara from the precinct was put on the response team, along with detectives from elsewhere who'd received special training in abduction cases. Normally, a local precinct detective wouldn't have gone undercover in a victim's home. Kuze, however, had decided that having a knowledgeable local was crucial and had sent Kajiwara along. The detectives disguised themselves as delivery people and movers to make their way inside without arousing suspicion, arriving there at 8:30. The response team had come prepared to run a trace if the kidnapper contacted the family a second time. But there were no further calls. Kano checked his watch again. 20 minutes had now passed since the time designated for the ransom handoff. The kidnapper had yet to appear. Crap, you think we might have spooked him? He wondered aloud. Hey, stay calm. Sasayama scanned the passing throng. He's just playing with us. Why'd this guy even pick this place? Kano voiced the question he'd been asking himself ever since he heard the kidnapper's demands. Sasayama shrugged. Figured he must want to blend in with the crowd, nab the money, and disappear before anyone knows he's there, would be my guess. In that case, why not pick Shinjuku or Ginza? The big crowd didn't just benefit the kidnapper after all. It also allowed the police to use the sea of people to conceal their own operation. Right now, there were 50 detectives stationed within a 50-meter radius of where Hitomi stood. The kidnapper would be taking a major risk if his plan was to nab the ransom money and run. That's what bothered Kano. Any criminal with half a brain would know better than to do a handoff in front of Hachiko. You're overthinking things, pal, Sasayama grumbled. No, I'm not. Kano reached into his pocket and pulled out his notepad. This was Kano's dick diary, which he always kept close at hand. Sasayama rolled his eyes. That thing again? Kano ignored him, flipping through the notepad pages. Here it is. Dictum 89. The more irrelevant something seems, the more relevant it's bound to be. It was a favorite saying of Kyuzo Tateno, an assistant inspector from the Shibuya precinct. Tateno was the kind of detective Kano aspired to be. For the current operation, he'd been placed in charge of Hitomi's personal safety. He was in position and defend her as soon as the ransom had been He was in position to defend her as soon as the ransom had been handed off. Of course, Hitomi hadn't been informed of how much protection she was under. There was a risk that if she acted too secure, it might alert the kidnapper. I think Tatsuno has the right idea. Sasayama snorted quietly. Maybe. I mean, he's a great detective. Don't get me wrong. But do you know how many irrelevant things there are to consider? Again, Kano ignored him. It didn't matter if nobody else understood. Kano had faith in Tateno, as both a detective and as an individual. He had first witnessed Tateno's brilliance during a standoff at a financial company 3 years earlier. A man had shut himself in an office, splashing gasoline everywhere and threatening to set the place ablaze. While the others hesitated, Tateno unflinchingly doused himself with gasoline and strode into the building, where he managed to talk the man down and secure the scene. The others had been awestruck by Tateno's actions, and Kano, who at the time had been content to be a run-of-the-mill policeman, had found it quite inspiring. Still, you know, Sasayama murmured under his breath. As great a detective as Tateno is, it's not like anyone else in the world has ever heard of him. I suppose not, Kano said. So... The only time anyone ever hears a cop's name is if he's caught up in some scandal or killed in the line of duty. I mean, doesn't really seem fair, does it? Kano just shrugged. It was a strange definition of unfair, really. I mean, you've got celebrity chefs and celebrity hairdressers and stuff. So how come no celebrity gumshoes, you know? Look, please. Can you just focus on what we're doing here? Kano rubbed his eyes, then turned his attention back to Hitomi. What's the matter? Didn't sleep? Not enough, I guess. Did you eat? Didn't have time. Between bringing in supplies for the base of operations, readying the team's vehicles, photocopying hundreds of documents, and various other tasks. Kano had barely slept the previous night and hadn't gotten a meal in either. What have you been doing? Sasayama puffed out his chest. Saving up my energy for today. So you were sleeping. Kano gave a wry chuckle at his partner's lack of shame. There he is. Kusei's voice chirped suddenly through Kano's earpiece. A man in his 20s wearing a sleeveless red jacket. He's carrying a garbage bag. A young man had emerged from the crowd about 15 feet from where Hitomi was standing. He strode toward her, a sinister look on his face. He didn't match Hitomi's description, but Kano felt a jolt of nerves all the same. Maybe the kidnapper had hired some young street punk to snatch the ransom payment. That our guy? What do you think, Kano? Sasayama whispered. Yeah, I think he's got to be. This was it. Kano swallowed the lump in his throat. He bent his knees, ready to act fast. Blood rushed to his leg muscles, banishing the stiffness that had begun to take hold. Could this be the culprit? Or perhaps... The young man tried to snatch the briefcase from Hitomi, but she clung to it with desperate strength. It was him. The detectives rushed in. Whoa, hey, what the hell? The young man cried out frantically and tried to dart away, but the officers closed in, forcing him bodily to the ground. Target secured. Jeez, I think we got another suspect on the scene. He's taken the ransom. Kusei's hysterics made Kano spin around. Sure enough, a foreign-looking man was sprinting away, attaché case in hand. The mob of detectives scrambled to pursue. Before Kano could react, most of them had run off, leaving him to look after the original suspect. What should I do with this guy, sir? He might have some connection to the kidnapper. Should I bring him in? Huh? Oh, sure, that'd be swell. I'm on it. With the help of one of the remaining detectives, Kano brought the suspect back to the Shibuya precinct. Look, how many times do we have to go through this? Cut the crap. In the interrogation room, the young man who gave his name as Achi Endo steadfastly insisted on his innocence. Why'd you try to steal that case? Kano watched Achi's face intently. Like I said, it looked heavy, so I was just trying to help her out. It wasn't inconceivable that a young guy would want to help a pretty girl. But Hitomi had just been standing there, hardly in desperate need of assistance. She hadn't set the case down, so I figured there had to be something important inside. An entry from Kano's dick diary shot through his mind. Dick dictum number 25. When the tongue slips, grab it and yank out the truth. Classic advice for a questioning. Something important, you say, such as... How the heck would I know? Achi spat. He huffed and slumped back in his chair. The standard textbook back and forth had been going on for nearly an hour. Kano didn't mind chasing down criminals. Didn't mind. Chasing down criminals was all well and good, but questioning suspects was another key part of the job. Plenty of off-the-scene work went into cracking a case. Once again, he had Achi explain what he'd been doing, starting from the beginning. When Kano finally emerged from the interrogation room for a short break, he learned that there had been some progress on the case at the crime scene. What the police hadn't been able to determine yet, however, was whether or not Maria was safe. Fighting back his anxiety, Kano consulted his dick diary. Dictum 54. Haste makes waste. He felt his tension subside. Remembering the right maxim always helped. It was like casting a magic spell. Kano returned to confront Achi once more. You were there to act as a distraction, to mess up the investigation. Weren't you? Huh? Achi looked a bit dumbfounded. What are you on about? Dictum 55. The truth hungers to be free. You hungry? Got some katsudon if you like. Achi nodded silently. Achi devoured the ball of katsudon with gusto. It looked like he hadn't eaten in a while. Alright then, spill it. What's this guy after? Achi just shrugged. No, he murmured, a thick slice of egg-laden pork between his teeth. How many accomplices do you have? Kano asked. But Achi just shook his head as he inhaled his food. Resignedly, Kano flipped through his notebook once more. Let's see, number 115. Use the lights to your advantage. As the minutes ticked past, he found himself referring to his book again and again, trying a dozen different methods to tease out whatever his suspect might be hiding. The experience began to feel strangely surreal, their two voices echoing hollowly in the interrogation room. Eventually, Kano looked at the clock and realized that the questioning had been going on for nearly 5 hours. He still hadn't made any headway. What was he supposed to do next? Tatena would know, but he sure didn't. Still, he was determined to do whatever he could to keep the victim and her family safe. Gritting his teeth in frustration, he perused the dick diary like it was scripture. Number 116. The monotonous questioning was clearly tiring Achi out. His eyelids drooped like they were beginning to get heavy. Number 117. Get 'em when they're tired. Kano's eyes gleamed. You're part of some criminal gang, huh? Achi's head slumped forward heavily. Nodding off was basically the same as nodding yes, right? Mr. Kuze, I did it. The young guy we grabbed at the handoff site. He finally confessed to the crime. What? What are you talking about? Kuze laughed in disbelief. We're just about to apprehend the mastermind here. Huh? Kano clutched his cell phone, dumbstruck. Listen, why don't you, Look, just wait there at HQ, okay? No, it can't be. After the kidnapping case wrapped up, Kano tendered his resignation. Guess I'm not cut out to be a detective after all, he thought to himself. He dropped the dick diary on his desk as he left the Shibuya precinct for the last time. Bad end. Number 1. So long, Shibuya. Kano wound up at a bad end. However, this does not mean that the choice he made for Kano was the wrong. Yeah, that was a wrong one. One of the other protagonists, Achi Endo, has an impact on Kano's fate here. You can avoid a bad end by making proper decisions. In another character's story, for a detailed hint, check the tip by underlining the bad end title. Kano had every reason to suspect Achi Endo, but arresting him turned out to be a mistake. If Achi hadn't approached Hitomi, this wouldn't have happened. Try playing Achi's story up to 10:30 and make a choice that keeps him from going up to her. If you do that, Kano won't even have a chance to arrest him, and things should play out differently. You now select Achi Endo, one of the other protagonists. Let's follow Achi's story for a little while. Achi Endo called out at the door to his father's room. Okay, I'm heading out. Sure. His father sounded unconcerned. He didn't even open the door. Sure you don't want me to stay here in the shop? It's not like we're gonna get any customers. Achi grimaced. Yeah, I guess not. The drawer by the front door held a stack of heavy-duty trash bags. Achi pulled a few of them out. Guess it's gonna be that kind of day. He stuffed the trash bags into his pocket, then slipped on his favorite pair of sneakers. The entryway to Achi's home also led into the family shop. Various pieces of electronics were piled up like so much junk in the tiny retail space. The slightest bump brought the risk of an avalanche. Achi wove his way through the gaps in the appliances like a spelunker exploring a cave. From Shibuya Station, if you make your way past the 109 building, then up through Dogenzaka, you'll come across an old shopping district. Nestled in its outskirts is Endo Electronics, in the same place it's been for decades. Within its dimly lit interior, you'll find rows of wares all caked in dust. At a glance, you might well assume the place was closed. A mom-and-pop place like Endo's couldn't compete with the big consumer chains booming throughout Shibuya. So far, the store had remained in business, thanks to the locals who appreciated that they made house calls to do repairs. But things weren't looking good for the future. Achi, the eldest son and nominal successor to the business, had no interest whatsoever in working there. Achi stepped out of the shop and into the sunny morning air. The good weather lifted his spirits. Alrighty, time to do this. He unfurled one of the big garbage bags, which caught the wind and fluttered like a cape. Then he slowly made his way toward Shibuya Station, scanning his surroundings all the while. Sheesh, this place is filthy. He paused to pick up a plastic bottle that had been tossed on the ground. Then, with a heavy sigh, he slipped the crushed receptacle into his trash bag. We've been picking up trash around town like this for about 6 months now. It had gotten so that the sort of garbage most people would hardly notice stood out to him like a sore thumb. Most days he'd fill his trash bag to the top by the time he made it from his house in Dogenzaka to the train station. Today he was halfway to the station when a woman's anxious voice caught his attention.
I'm sorry. I'm in a bit of a hurry here.
He looked up and saw a timid-looking woman being confronted by two men, one with brown hair, one with black. From the look of them, he guessed that the men were scouts for some hostess club. He ran into this sort of thing pretty frequently on his trash-collecting walks around town. Another kind of trash to take care of. Achi quickly interposed himself between the girl and the two recruiters. Hey, can't you see that you're bothering her? Huh? Who the hell are you? The two men glared. Take a hike, pal. Achi stood his ground. Look, she ain't interested. You're just gonna have to find some other mark. The hustler's annoyance turned to open rage. Well, well, listen to you. Got a bit of a mouth, huh, buddy? The brown-haired thug smacked his lips around his chewing gum like a dog worrying a bone. How about we take this someplace more quiet, yeah? The girl stood by uneasily, watching the goings-on. Hey, take it easy. I'm not looking for trouble. Is that supposed to be an apology? That was the wrong person talking. On your knees and beg, pal. The man spat his gum onto the ground. Achi looked down at the glistening wad of gum on the sidewalk. His last shred of goodwill vanished. You better pick that up. Right now. What? Didn't you hear me? 'Cause I told you to get down your knees and back! Achi's hand shot out, grabbing the man by the jaw. Whoa, whoa, easy, pal. The other man's bravado drained from his face. Achi tightened his grip on the brown-haired hustler's jaw. Sweat dripped from the man's reddening brow. The man struggled, but Achi just tightened his grip. Comes a real pain in the ass to clean up after it's gotten stuck to the street, you know. Ever stop to consider that? Wait, are you... Other hustlers' panicked eyes had fixed on Achi's chest. Oh crap. That shirt, man. The guy's voice was starting to break. That's mean clean. A guy with a mean clean shirt. Carrying around a trash bag. That means you're... His face went pale. Mean good. The other man echoed the words through his held-shut jaw, tears welling up in his eyes. Get it right, pal. Achi clenched the man's jaw harder still. It's mean clean. Ow. We're sorry, man. You're Achi, right? Dude, we honestly had no idea. Come on, man, you gotta cut us some slack. The man scrambled to snatch the wad of gum off the street, stuffing it into his pants pocket. Finally, Achi let go of his companion. The brown-haired hustler's face was twisted up with fear, tears streamed down his cheeks. Gasping out hasty apologies, the two thugs scampered off. Hey, so... A shy smile came to the girl's face. I don't know who's talking. Roko Kakanuma. Law school.
Hey, so... Thank you for saving me.
No, I apologize.
Huh?
The girl stared in surprise. You'll run into creeps like that now and then, but don't hold it against us. Shibuya is a good town.
Yeah, okay.
Achi gave her a quick wave, then turned and continued on his way down Dongyentaka. Achi was Shibuya born and raised. He was keenly aware of all the changes the ward had seen since he was a kid. Grocery stalls and inconspicuous little side streets, tiny parks nestled between buildings. Achi knew it all like the back of his hand. Trash, human or otherwise, had no place in this town, not on his watch. Achi made his way down toward Shibuya Station. Throngs of people shuffled to and fro across the Scramble. The view shifted consistently from one moment to the next, almost as if the city itself were alive. And if the city was a living thing, then Shibuya Station was its heart. With streets like Bunkamuradori and Center-gai serving as the arteries pumping a bloodstream made of people. Today as ever, the heart was pumping up blood to every nook and cranny of Shibuya. And there was Achi, just another part of this great urban organism. Guess I'm one of the city's white blood cells. Or wait, maybe I'm a red blood cell? Huh, hold on. Is that right? Or did I have it right the first time? White blood cells eliminate pathogens from the bloodstream. Red blood cells carry oxygen throughout the body. Achi was probably thinking of white blood cells. Emerging from his reverie, he noticed a rather conspicuous young woman standing by the statue of Hachiko outside Shibuya Station. Ooh, she's totally my type. Wonder if she's a model or some small-time actress or something. Looks like she's waiting for someone. Probably another guy. Dang. Good looking as she was, there was no way she was already taken. She wasn't already taken. What kind of guy scored a girl like that? Probably the rich-ass CEO of an IT company or something. Crouching down to tie off the trash bag, he continued gazing wistfully at the girl. Then he noticed something peculiar. She was carrying an attached case, the kind a businessman might use. It was a large case, and apparently so heavy that she was struggling to hold it despite using both hands. Now, what kind of person makes a young lady lug around something heavy like that? He reached a decision point. Let's have Achi not approach Hitomi. But first, I gotta dump this trash. He looked around to see if there was a garbage bin nearby. First, I gotta dump this trash. Now, Achi won't approach Hitomi, which means he will avoid being arrested by Kano. At the same time, Kano's fate will also change. And he will no longer wind up at a bad end, so let's switch back to Kano's story using the time chart. Press triangle. This is the time chart. It shows the protagonist's progression throughout the story. Decision points are marked with a fork in the road. Kano's fate has changed based on Achi's actions. Select Kano's 1030 block, then press X. Suspicious man. I suppose you could call it that. Kano gave a wry chuckle at his partner's lack of shame. There he is! Kuze's voice chirped suddenly through Kano's earpiece. The man in the black coat. He's not Japanese. Looks to be in his early 30s. Previously, Achi got mixed up with Kano and the police, but now, another man has appeared instead. By changing what Achi did, you've also changed Kano's story. A foreign man had emerged from the crowd about 15 feet from where Hitomi was standing. He made his way toward her, his expression blank. He didn't match the description Hitomi had given them, but Kano felt a jolt of nerves all the same. Maybe the kidnapper was using an accomplice to snatch the ransom payment. Alright, Sasayama raised an eyebrow. This may be our guy. This was it. Kano swallowed the lump in his throat. He bent his knees, ready for action. Blood rushed to his leg muscles, banishing the stiffness that had begun to take hold. Oh god, he is a creep. Was this the culprit? Or perhaps... The stranger took hold of the attached case. It was him! En masse, the detectives began to close in. Let's go, Kano. On it. Sasayama and Kano leapt into action, but they never expected what happened next. With the case clutched in both arms, the man veered suddenly, running right toward them. Keep out. Kano's story has suddenly hit a keep out. Keep out refers to a point in the story where your progress is currently stopped. In order to advance beyond a keep out, you need to jump from another protagonist's story. At 10:30, Achi has the text, young man in a suit, set as red keywords. Checking these red keywords will allow you to jump from Achi's story back to Kano's. Now head back to Achi's story and keep an eye out for that. Key phrase. Okay. Try following the story from Achi at 10:30, approach the girl. First, I gotta dump the trash. Huh? A man had come up beside the girl. He was dressed in black and he wasn't Japanese. It looked like they were having a conversation. The girl nodded tensely at something the man said. Achi stared. Something tells me that's not her boyfriend. The girl handed the attaché case over to the man. He took hold of it with his right hand and began walking briskly away. Jesus. Whoa! A nearby homeless man suddenly leaped over Achi and broke into a run, as if he'd been waiting for this very moment. Yuji Sasayama, cosplay detective. Sprinting alongside him was a young man in a suit. Some words in the text appear in red. Red text denotes important keywords that let you jump between different protagonists' stories. This allows you to shift between characters at specific points. These can also allow you to clear a keep out in another character's story and let you read on. If you come across red text, press squared, underline it, then press X. A window will appear, allowing you to jump from one protagonist to another at that point. And continue other character story after the keep out. Give it a try. By performing a jump from the screen, you can advance another protagonist's story past the keep out. Yeah. Let's go, Kano. On it. Sasayama and Kano leapt into action. You did it! Jump successful! In 428, you will often need to jump to get past another character's keep out. Jump from red keywords to clear a keep out. Keep this in mind as you advance through the story. Okay, there won't be any more tutorial messages for a while. If you get stuck somewhere, try changing protagonists or making different decisions to advance. You can now use the time chart in the main menu. From the main menu, you can access gameplay. Okay. Yeah, like, this is the only option. But they never expected what happened next. With the case clutched in both arms, the man suddenly veered, running right toward them. Whoa! Catching sight of the two detectives, the suspect staggered to a halt, then bolted off in a new direction. Kano whipped off his costume glasses and followed in hot pursuit. At the crosswalk, the signal changed to red and the flow of foot traffic abruptly halted. Just as quickly, hundreds of cars all lurched back into motion. There's no escape for the culprit now. Or so it appeared. The converging cops slowed their pace, confident their man was cornered. Then the foreigner barreled straight into the intersection, dodging between the oncoming cars without any hesitation. The mob of detectives came to a halt, not eager to rush to their deaths along with him. Kano, however, remained in hot pursuit, charging into the traffic at the crossing. Kano, are you crazy? Come back! Kano heard Sasayama shouting, but his feet kept carrying him onward. With shouts and sirens echoing all around him, Kano closed in on the foreigner. Just a little closer. Just a little closer, and he'll be in tackling range. He leaned forward, preparing to pounce, his eyes fixed on the culprit's feet. It was now or never. Kano, back off! Don't take him down! It was Kuze shouting through Kano's earpiece. Huh. Kano hesitated in surprise. Had he really just been ordered not to apprehend the criminal? Let him go for now. The real purpose someplace else. What had happened to the plan? He'd been told that all personnel were to secure the area ASAP. Didn't HQ want them to catch the perpetrator? Arrest team, stay on the foreigner's tail. Forensics team, get busy cross-referencing photos. Even if this foreigner was only an underling hired for this one task, the police had now tipped their hand that they'd been lying in wait. If they didn't lock things down now and get more info on the kidnapper, the girl's life might be at stake. Kano recalled another maxim from his dick diary. Number 12. Always assume a worst-case scenario. If Kuze had told him to let this guy go, that implied he was counting on the team that was now in position. But if the crook had planned a way to break through the police dragnet and escape with the ransom, and he succeeded, what was the right call here? Should he take the guy down or back off after all? Back off. Let the other officers chase after the guy. Kano had his own job to do. Kuze's instructions had been clear. Let the other officers chase after the guy. Kano had his own job to do. He broke off his pursuit, pointing the next wave of detectives in the direction the foreigner had fled. Kano had almost gotten close enough to get a good look at the guy's face. But if Kuze had ordered him to let the guy go, well, his boss should know what he was doing. The perp was someone else's problem now. He had just ceased his pursuit when Kuze's panicked voice sounded shrill in his ear. Someone's taken Hitomi! Kano recognized Kuze's trademark squawking immediately. Subject is male. He appears to be carrying a gun. He's fleeing in the direction of Meiji Dori. What? Kano could hardly believe it. Hitomi had been kidnapped. Had she been abducted by whoever had taken Maria? But why? Someone must have been waiting for the moment when the police took their eyes off her. Something's very wrong here. What in the world is going on? Kano hurried to search for the man who'd taken Hitomi. If he was heading toward Meiji Dori, there was a good chance he'd gone down one of the alleyways nearby. After darting through the side streets, he spotted a different man, another foreigner, crossing an intersection a few dozen meters ahead. The man was dressed in black, just like the guy who grabbed the ransom money. Kuze's right, the kidnapper wasn't acting alone. But wait, something was amiss. Hitomi isn't with him. Or was she? Kano skidded around the corner, then stopped short. The man in black was standing there, pointing a gun right at him. Before Kano could react, the man fired. Kano felt hot all over as if he were on fire. All except for his cheek, pressed against the asphalt, in the palms of his hands. They felt so cold. There was nothing he could do. Nothing, that is, except lie there and watch as his killer turned and walked away. Bad end. Number 4. Shot by a foreigner. By trying to find the man who'd taken Hitomi, Kano ran into a different criminal. Unfortunately, he got shot. Okay, let's see here. Young man in a suit. Whoa! A nearby homeless man suddenly leaped over Achi and broke into a run, as if he'd been waiting for this very moment. Sprinting alongside him was a young man in a suit. Then, seemingly from everywhere, a whole bunch of other guys burst into motion. First one, then another, a third, a fourth, a fifth, over a dozen now. What the heck? Clearly something big was going down. Were they after the Itachi case? Within moments, Achi lost sight of them all throughout the crowd. With that many people chasing him, the guy with the case was sure to get caught. But wait, what about the girl? Achi turned back around. The girl was still there. She was staring in the direction that the man who'd taken the case had gone, a worried expression on her face. Achi couldn't shake the feeling something was wrong. And let's see. Another crazy day in Shibuya. They had to be shooting a scene for a film on location. It would probably be a mistake to intrude. Yeah, I bet that's what this is. Some TV show about a kidnapping, and the girl has to make the ransom handoff. And there's probably some actor lurking around here playing the suave, handsome detective. Achi gave a chuckle and turned away. A soothing breeze blew by as wispy clouds drifted overhead. They picked a nice day for a shoot. Smiling inwardly, he resumed his trash-picking mission, wondering what other surprises the day would hold. A few moments later, he heard a loud bang, and the scramble went into an uproar. Huh, someone blew a tire? People were running from all directions to see what had made the sound. Oh, maybe they're shooting an action scene now. Hachi was a tad bit curious, but he strolled away from the scramble without looking back. Maybe he'd head out to Yotsuya today to stretch his legs a bit. Neighborhood. It was best not to get distracted. There was trash that needed collecting. Your future is garbage. Hachi decided to go on collecting trash because he decided the commotion was a TV shoot. Where am I? Approach the girl. First gotta look for trash. Press up to go back and reread sections you've already played through. Scroll ahead to the text you've already read. Press... blah 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 blah. Achi couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong. Maybe he should talk to her and ask what was going on. But just as he was making up his mind, a middle-aged man in a ratty business suit shuffled awkwardly over to her first. Was there something wrong with one of his legs? He was using a cane to walk. Then one of his hands slipped into his jacket pocket. Achi could scarcely believe his eyes. A revolver? Bang bang. Suddenly a young man came running through the crowd. Seeing him, the man with the cane turned on his heel and vanished in the scramble. Something big was going down. What is all this? The young man was closing in on the girl, his expression grim. That guy's up to no good. Achi sprang into motion. Hiya! Leaping high, Achi delivered a flying kick right between the man's shoulder blades. The guy went down, but recovered surprisingly fast, spinning back to his feet to grapple with Achi. What the hell's your problem? What the hell is your problem, man? Achi snapped. The two stood staring each other down as the crowd swirled around them. Let go of me. You let go of me first. After you let go of me, sure. You first, pal. Don't you call me pal, man. Don't you call me man, pal. Neither man was willing to yield. The crowd had parted to avoid the scuffle. Passerbys were staring from all sides. Well, crap. Achi got a sudden sinking feeling. What the hell am I even doing? Jumped in over my head as usual. His anger melted away. He loosened his grip. Without further argument, the other man let go of Achi's jacket. Turning quickly away, the stranger hurried over to the statue of Hachiko, where he dropped to his knees, dejected. The girl who had been standing there was nowhere to be seen. Maybe this was the guy she'd been waiting on. The guy was clearly upset that she was missing. Achi actually felt kinda bad for him. He decided it would be wise to leave while the guy's attention was elsewhere. Whew. He hurried back along the road to his house. The wind had gone out of his sails, and he didn't feel much like cleaning up trash anymore. Oh well, guess I'll read some manga and go to bed. Better play it safe before the day got any worse. Interference with the young man, Kano. Things want to go differently. To follow or not? What was the right call here? Take the guy down, back off. I do B again for some reason. Almost gotten close enough to get a good look to his face. We're getting let go. Kano headed back to the Scramble and took up his post again. Hitomi was still standing at the handoff point, staring worriedly in the direction that the suspect had fled. No doubt she was wondering why, all of a sudden, The police had decided to let the guy go. Kano jogged over to Hitomi, but before he could reassure her, "Hiya!" A sudden blow from behind sent him sprawling to the ground. Kano's mind flooded with rage as he scrabbled back to his feet. What the hell? He spun around to find himself grappling with a belligerent young man. What the hell's your problem? Kano snapped. What the hell is your problem? The stranger shot back. Let go of me. You let go of me first. After you let go of me, sure. You first, pal. Don't you call me pal, man. Don't call me man, pal. The crowd had begun to stare. Not good. Here he was, causing a scene in public, blowing his cover in the middle of an important case. This was neither the time nor place for some dumb, random quarrel. Even as he came to his senses, Kano felt the strength ebb from the stranger's grip. He pushed the man away and quickly turned back toward Hitomi. She was gone. He scanned the area for any sign of her, but she had vanished without a trace. Kuze's mobile command center had also disappeared. What did I miss? The blood drained from Kano's face. The investigation had left him utterly behind. There wasn't even any signal on his radio. They must have switched frequencies while he was caught up in the tussle. Kano turned back to confront the troublemaker. He was gone too. Kano spun on his heels, searching, but the young man was nowhere in sight. The attaché case, Hitomi, the troublemaker, he'd lost all three. Right out of the starting gate, he bungled the entire operation. He should have left Hateno to look after Hitomi and gone after the attaché case himself. What the hell was he doing? Kano felt his self-confidence ebbing away like water. Maybe it's time to move back to the sticks. Maybe Tokyo's too fast-paced for a screw-up like me. He had no idea what to do next, and so he just stood there, frozen. Already drafting his letter of resignation in his head. Lost sight of Hitomi, Achi, chase. To follow or not. Oops. Letting the perp escape now is too big of a risk. He had to catch the guy ASAP. The man darted down a narrow alleyway. Kano ran faster. The man sprinted through the side streets. Evidently, he knew his way around Shibuya pretty well. He noticed two people over by a trash pile. At first, they appeared to be a young couple. Then, looking more closely, he realized that the girl was Hitomi. Mr. Kuze, I located Hitomi Osawa. The couple took off running. The rough-looking guy dragged Hitomi by the hand. She's with a man in his 20s. It looks like she's being led away against her will. Clarify, please, Kuze demanded. What's going on? I'm not sure. Was this guy a member of some criminal group? It looked like the two were running away from something. Alright, we'll handle the foreigner. You go after Hitomi. Got it. Kano sprang into action. Stop right there. The young man glanced back at Kano. But rather than stopping, he picked up speed, continuing to drag Hitomi along with him. She didn't seem quite able to keep up. Kano knew he could catch them. He tried to close the distance in a sprint, After a short distance, the young man stopped, realizing he couldn't outrun his pursuer. Shielding Hitomi behind him, he glowered at Kano. "Why did you run off?" Kano demanded. "Because you were chasing us?" A blatant lie. People didn't just bolt like that without good reason. The young tough started edging away, keeping Hitomi behind him. Thug, maybe? Whatever. Kano followed. "Look, just let the girl go." The guy glanced back at Hitomi. She shook her head fearfully. Maybe this troublemaker had warned her to keep her mouth shut. "You've got this, Kano. Just don't let them out of your sight." Gah! A sudden blow to the top of his head left him staggering. His eyes spun as he reeled with vertigo. There was a flapping sound, and a vague black shape wheeled above him. Was that a crow? It was the last thing Kano saw before his vision went dark. Was that a crow? In the midst of chasing the man, found the police spot. Okay, what's the deal? How she couldn't shake the feeling. With a single, fluid motion, the man lifted up the gun and pointed it in the girl's direction. He was aiming right for her head. Huh? The girl had noticed the man with the cane now. Seeing the gun pointed right at her, she froze in fear. Achi didn't hesitate. Breaking into a full run, he tackled the gunman with all his might. Caught off guard, the man sprawled to the pavement. But the would-be assassin kept hold of his weapon and quickly scrabbled back to his feet. Achi knew he had to act fast. He grabbed the ashen-faced girl by the arm and attempted to drag her away. "This way," he shouted. She just stared at him, uncomprehending, trembling like a startled animal. "Come on, run!" Finally, the girl snapped out of her daze and gave a fearful nod. "The police box, let's go!" Still pulling the girl by the hand, Achi headed for the police box outside the train station. But it was empty. There were always policemen staffing these things. Why did it have to be unmanned now? Achi flashed a worried glance behind him and saw the assassin in pursuit like a man possessed. Yikes, this is not good. There was nothing they could do but run. The frightened girl in tow, Achi ran beneath the JR Yamanote Line railway overpass. "Don't worry, just trust me," he told her. "But first..." They sped past a convenience store where an employee was cleaning up the sidewalk. "Here, take this, will ya?" Achi tossed over the bag of trash. Huh? Wait, what? This way. They slipped through the crowd and into a nearby back alley.
But this way's a dead end,
The girl said breathlessly. Like I said, just trust me. Stopping abruptly, Achi hit down a wooden plank covering a gap between two buildings, clearing a space that a person could fit through. See, we can get away through here. In you go. But the girl just stood there, looking terrified. What's the matter? Achi asked. Come on, we gotta hurry.
but I...
She looked at him as if he too was about to pull a gun on her. He could hardly blame her. After all, he was just some random guy who had turned up out of nowhere. But this was no time for dawdling. The man with the cane appeared at the end of the alley. If they just stood there, he was going to catch them. Okay, sweetheart, hear me out, he said in a rush. The name's Ashiendo. I live in the neighborhood, and I'm not the kind to stand idly by when a girl is being chased by some killer. So please just trust me, and I'll do my best to keep you safe. He hoped the look in his eyes could convince her he was being on the level. After a painfully long moment, the girl nodded her acceptance. Right, let's start with this. They had paused beside an enormous stack of beverage crates. With a quick shove, Achi knocked the whole pile down, sending it cascading across the pursuer's path. Now that was a close call. The man with the cane was floundering, struggling to get past the falling crates. My bad, man, Achi called out. Mind cleaning that up for me? The man scowled back at them and fumbled for his gun. Achi flashed him a wave goodbye, then slipped away between the buildings with the girl. Hurrying down a narrow alley, they emerged onto a side street lined with dive bars and clubs. Assuming the man with the cane hadn't given up, he would probably lie in wait on the path back to the main road. Achi decided their best bet was to try to stay inconspicuous rather than risk getting caught on the move. Guess we can lie low here for a bit, he said. He led the girl to the entrance of a tiny old hostess club. She followed him reluctantly. Achi flicked the switch inside the front door and a chintzy chandelier glowed to life. He set the girl down on the small sofa beside the counter. She gave him a worried look. Achi felt a pain of embarrassment as he realized what she must be thinking. Oh no, don't get the wrong idea. I'm not gonna try any funny business. Someone I know used to run the place. It's not in business anymore, so I figure we're safe here. The girl chuckled at his evident discomfort.
Alright then, she said.
So, we good?
We're good.
Okay, well, good. Achi made a vague attempt to straighten his disheveled clothes. So, how about some introductions? I'm Achiendo, like I said earlier. You can just call me Achi.
I'm Hitomi Osawa. You can call me Hitomi, I guess.
With each new word out of Hitomi's mouth, Achi felt his heart sing. She was charming, personable, just about everything about her was captivating. Achi had never met another girl like her.
Achi?
Ooh.
Is something the matter? You were spacing out there for a bit.
Achi shook his head to dispel his daze. Damn it, this is no time to get all starry-eyed. He needed to think of some way to keep her safe from the guy who was after her. Look, can you tell me what the heck's going on? Please, I need to know if I'm gonna help you.
Right, okay. I'm not really sure where to begin.
Hitomi looked down, lost in thought. Apparently hers was a long story.
Alright, she said at last. I guess I'll just explain things as they happened.
Wait, hold up. Could you keep it as simple as you can? I mean, I'm not really the sharpest tool in the shed. Complicated explanations ain't exactly my strong suit.
Okay, I'll try my best,
Hitomi chuckled.
She got comfortable and then started her story. So, last night, somebody abducted my sister. The kidnapper demanded that I make the ransom handoff personally. He told me to stand by the statue of Hachiko in Shibuya at 10 o'clock in the morning to make the exchange. So I did, and this man came by and took the—
Whoa, I'm sorry, hold up a sec. She had suddenly lost the thread of the conversation.
Make the exchange, so I did. This man came by and took the attache case with the money, and then afterwards the other guy with the cane turned up and pointed his gun at me and—
Could you say that again, but like, simpler?
Huh? Sure.
I'm just having trouble following, Saul. I mean, is this the plot to some movie or soap opera?
No, that's not—
Or some kind of hidden camera show?
This is real. This really happened.
The look in Hitomi's eyes was dead serious. She's gotta be telling the truth. What would be the point of lying? And he had seen the attache case and the gunman himself. How much was the ransom, if you don't mind my asking? Hitomi hesitated.
50 million yen, she said after a moment.
Achi gave a whistle of amazement.
The detectives told me that was a typical amount for a kidnapper to ask for.
It's plenty, that's for sure. I guess there's good money in that sort of thing. As soon as the words were out, he realized his blunder. Sorry. I shouldn't have put it that way. He fidgeted awkwardly, and Hitomi looked away. I'm an idiot, but okay, I think I get this kidnapping thing. So I'm guessing those guys who chased the guy who took the ransom were undercover cops. He replayed the scene in his head. But then, the kidnapper took the attache case and ran, right? So if you were empty-handed, why'd that guy with the cane come after you?
I'm honestly not sure.
Hitomi's words trailed off. This was clearly difficult for her to talk about. Anyway, we should probably get you to the police as soon as we—
No, we can't do that.
Hitomi's tone was resolute.
I can't take this to the police.
Why not? Achi waited for an answer, but none came. After a long and awkward silence, she stood up from her seat.
I really appreciate the help, but I should go now.
She gave Achi a deep bow. Nah, hold on. What do you mean, go? Go where? He hurried to intervene as she headed for the door.
I don't want to cause you any more trouble. I'll figure the rest out on my own somehow.
Hey, I said hold on. Hitomi ignored him and opened the door, and their argument came to an abrupt halt. Standing there was the man with the cane, his revolver in his hand. To be continued. Achi Endo's 10 o'clock story ends here. However, Shinya Kano still has more to do. Read on further in Kano's story. just go here? Yeah. The man darted down a narrow alleyway. Kano ran faster. The man sprinted through the side streets. Evidently, he knew his way around Shibuya pretty well. The man shot out onto a major thoroughfare, then bolted up the pedestrian bridge. Just where the heck was this guy heading? Halfway across the bridge, the man stopped abruptly. Cautious, Kano stopped as well. Height, roughly 190 centimeters. Age, 30s. Hair, dark brown. Clothing, all black. A moment later, the man flashed a triumphant sneer, and he held up the attaché case. Before Kano could even yell stop, it was already too late. The man threw the attaché case down to the roadway below. No! Panicking, Kano peered over the railing. The man on the motorcycle was waiting beneath the bridge. I've been had. Kano bit his lip hard. Damn it! Kano sprinted back down the bridge, hearing the bike's engine roar to life. He had to make it in time. Descending the stairs four at a time, he leapt toward the roadway, but the bike spit out reach and roared away in the direction of Yoyogi, leaving Kano in its dust. Looking back up at the overpass, he saw the man who threw down the attaché case running away. He handed the money off to someone else. He's currently on a motorcycle heading towards Yoyogi. His report to Kuze complete, Kano slumped down in dismay. The cops had played right into the criminal's hands. Now the crooks were getting away, and people's lives were in danger. Was there any greater failure for policemen? Staring off into the distance where the man who threw in the case had disappeared, Kano gritted his teeth. To be continued. You finished reading both character stories for the hour of 10 o'clock. Yee. I want to be the cat. This is the end of the tutorial for this part of the story. You can reread previous tutorial messages, blah blah blah. 11 o'clock, 5 protagonists, which story to read first? I want to be the cat. Select Osawa. Wealth, status, honor. None of these mean anything to me. All I want is a peaceful life. To put worry behind me. To stay calm and serene. To be free of worldly concerns. Free at any cost. The cheery rhythm pumped from the CD player set up against the study wall. It was the latest hit from Aya Kamaki, the songwriter sensation who was blowing up the pop charts. Kenji Osawa reached for the stereo remote on his desktop. He ratcheted the volume up a little louder. He looked like the sort of man who'd be more interested in classical music, but in fact he was a huge fan of the girl rock popular with middle schoolers. Closing his eyes, he swayed back and forth in time with the music, humming his favorite lyrics under his breath. But his movements faltered. It's no use. Aya's voice usually soothed whatever ailed him, but today even she couldn't help. Today, Osawa was a complete wreck in both body and mind. Mounds of paperwork were scattered across the desktop in his study, all of it about viruses and vaccines. It had only been a week since he returned from a business trip to his company's branch office in the US, and he was slated to go back in another week's time. There was a truly staggering amount of work he needed to get through while he was at home. He picked up one of the papers, glanced at it aimlessly, then tossed it back onto the desk. Slumping back in his chair, he let out a long, deep sigh. He was in no mental state to work right now. A faint knock at the door barely roused him from his stupor. "Director, may I come in?" It was his vice director, Mamoru Tanaka. "Sure, the door's open." Tanaka came into the study. "I know it's not a great time, but..." Osawa could barely make out his words. He tapped the remote, lowering the volume of the music. Tanaka continued apologetically. "A call came in from the lab. They're hoping for a response to the email they sent yesterday. I'm sure they don't need it today. Apparently they do need an answer as soon as possible, sir. I did ask them to give you some more time, but..." "I see," Osawa said wearily. "All right then." Tanaka dipped his head slightly and slipped out of the room. Osawa contemplated his colleague. Tanaka was a man he could truly depend on. He has enough of his own work to do. He didn't need to come here again today, but he did. They'd been working in close concert ever since Osawa had gotten back to Japan. Without Tanaka's support, there was no way he would be in a mindset to do any work at all right now. Sidling up to his computer, Osawa opened his email program and started answering the work-related messages. He reported on his business travel expenses, offered his opinions on capital investments, requested confirmation on current medicinal stockpiles. He worked with bleak detachment. None of this meant anything to him right now. Then a new email appeared in his inbox. The sender was identified simply as A. The subject line read, "1 year ago, South Africa." The message body was blank, but there appeared to be multiple images attached. Ordinarily, Osawa would have deleted a message like this immediately, assuming that it contained some kind of virus. But the word South Africa drew his attention. Could this possibly be related to... He couldn't help but to wonder. For a long moment, he hovered the cursor over one of the image files. At last, as if spurred on by the upbeat rhythm in his ears, he double-clicked the mouse. What is this? The grainy photograph showed a large room with a dozen or so people laid out in beds. It appeared to be some sort of medical ward. Osawa felt a strange flutter in his chest. He quickly opened another image. This one showed a close-up of one of the patients in his bed. Large red blotches covered his face. A large volume of blood appeared to be dripping from his ears and nostrils. A cold shudder ran up Osawa's spine. What the hell? These symptoms. Osawa opened up the remaining image files. Each new picture showed another of the patients. They all appeared to be teetering on the brink of death. There was no doubt about it. These people were infected with the UA virus. Ebola, okay. But how? Questions tumbled through Osawa's mind. His fingers tapped out a quick message. He doubted he'd get a response, but he might as well try. Who are you? Where are these images from? The Yua virus got its name from a Swahili word for flower. Sickle of death. Supposedly this was based on the fact that the propagated form of the virus resembled the petals of a flower. Despite the flowery name, however, the disease was anything but pretty. Yua didn't just mean flower, it also meant to kill. And, as the name suggested, the virus had a mortality rate of 100% in those it managed to affect. Moreover, there was a very short incubation period between infection, the onset of symptoms, and death. Inhaled viral particles. Ew. Within roughly 12 hours, bleeding would set in throughout the body, everywhere but the bones and muscles, with lethal results. Due to its incredibly high mortality rate, the disease's very existence had been kept hidden from public knowledge. Osawa's computer chimed to signify the arrival of a new email. The sender was A. He hurried to open the message. Once again, the subject line read, 1 year ago, South Africa. Your crimes. Osawa stared at those 2 words. My crimes. That left him only with further questions. He looked again at the images from the previous email. What makes any of this my crimes? He could see that the patient's bleeding was severe. He estimated that several hours had passed since the onset of the disease. It wouldn't be long before their lives were cut short. To feel that agony, that suffering, and then to perish. Am I to blame for that? Another faint knock came at the door. Darling? Do you have a moment? It was his wife, Ai. Let's see. Where am I? Give me a second. Give me just a second. Sawa hurriedly closed the mail program. Even if this was nothing more than some sick prank, it wasn't anything he wanted his family to see. Especially not I. Alright, come in. But Osawa turned to see that I had already let herself into the study. The sharp stain of her perfume made him scrunch up his face for a moment. Have you reconsidered the whole America thing? She asked. This again, Osawa thought sullenly to himself. Please, he said. Can we not discuss this right now? If not now, then when? You know this isn't a decision to just make on your own. On his latest business trip, a major American pharmaceutical firm had attempted to headhunt him, asking him to join them and be among the top researchers in the world. The money and prestige held no interest for him, and he was reluctant to turn his back on Okoshi Pharmaceutical after his many years of service. Nonetheless, he was intrigued by the offer. It would mean the chance to conduct his virus research in a much better funded environment. Taking the job would necessitate relocating to the US, however. When he'd mentioned the possibility of immigrating to she shot the idea down on the spot. Her opposition was understandable. Ai's father, Suguru Makino, was a member of Okoshi Pharmaceuticals' board of directors. No way was he going to let Osawa jump ship to another company. Darling, please. I drew in closer to him. Think about it from my perspective. If you leave for America, what am I supposed to tell my father? He'd gotten so used to it, that grating whine of hers. Have you considered what might happen to Okoshi if you leave, dear? We can discuss that once all this is finished. Osawa kept his voice as level as he could. You do remember that you're a director, right? I said. You have responsibilities. Stop thinking about yourself so much. With a sour look, I turned and departed. Well, he had known that moving to America would never be a simple matter, regardless of what his wife thought about it. There was another reason, however, the antiviral agent that he had developed at Okoshi. Influenza, HIV. After the Ebola virus was discovered, infectious disease research facilities worldwide had thrown themselves into a top-secret effort to develop a vaccine. But Makino had ordered Osawa to work on creating an antiviral agent, not a vaccine. Vaccine Vaccine immunized the subject in order to prevent infection in the first place. Conversely, an antiviral agent could be used to treat patients already infected. It was a so-called wonder drug for combating the virus itself. Creating such a drug was far easier said than done. Developing the antiviral had been a long, arduous road. Only after years of research had Osawa's team succeeded in identifying a substance that might qualify as an antiviral agent for UA. In theory, if it was administered during the virus's initial stages, 100% recovery could be attained. Data also suggested an 80% survival rate for patients treated shortly after the onset of symptoms. Sorry, just give me a second. My throat. But there was a fatal flaw with the new antiviral agent. The side effects on the body were unusually potent. If it was administered in amounts beyond a certain threshold, it was linked to life-threatening complications. For a time, the research was at an impasse. It had seemed that the drug had to be administered in high volume to combat the explosive propagation of the UA virus. But then Osawa had received some fortuitous news. Okoshi Pharmaceuticals' nanotechnology branch had engineered a cutting-edge device known as the DDS. Drug delivery system. Osawa had jumped on it immediately, but administering his antiviral agent with the nanotech DDS, he was able to use smaller amounts of the drug to quash the UA virus with precision. Play. The procedure was a huge success. There was a marked increase in the drug's efficiency, along with the expected decrease in adverse side effects. The effects had been confirmed via animal testing on monkeys, and now the antiviral was ready for the final development stages, clinical trials on humans. But the very existence of this new wonder drug was still a secret. No doubt Okoshi's leadership would be reluctant to see Osawa, the drug's lead researcher, transferred to another company. Still, it wasn't completely outside the realm of possibility. Once the antiviral was out of development and announced to the public, Osawa would be free and clear. For that very reason, he was loath to cause any friction over the drug right now. This anxiety only magnified his concern about the email he just received. Osawa called up Tanaka over the intercom. "There's something I want to show you. Could you come in here?" He needed a second opinion, and Tanaka could be relied upon. Osawa opened the door the moment Tanaka knocked. He looked around before ushering his vice director inside. "What's this about, sir?" "This." Osawa showed him one of the images. Tanaka's face went pale. "It can't be." Tanaka clearly recognized the symptoms of the Ua virus. "Any idea what this is about?" Osawa asked. "No, sir. These images were just emailed to me. The subject line says 1 year ago, South Africa. That would put it around the same time as the most recent run of infections, wouldn't it, sir? But that information isn't..." Tanaka trailed off. Osawa nodded. "The thing I don't understand is why these pictures were sent to me." Osawa opened the other email from A. "The second message I got says that these pictures are my crimes." "I'll look into this on my end, sir," Tanaka said. He hesitated uncomfortably. "Sir, just to make sure, Are you asking about what I think you're asking about?" Osawa said. Tanaka gave a slight nod. "Understood," Osawa said. "Don't worry. I won't trouble you." "I appreciate that, sir." Visibly relieved, Tanaka left the study. Osawa brought up a folder marked Ua virus on his screen. Within the folder were enlarged images of the virus itself. He double-clicked one of the images. It blew up on the monitor to reveal the pathogen in intricate detail. A specimen of the Ua virus was approximately 100 nanometers in diameter. 10,000 of them in line would take up barely a millimeter. But a single, tiny virion upon entering the human body could become 2,000 in an hour. The speed of multiplication was nothing short of astonishing. Even the Ebola virus had a typical incubation period of 7 days or so before infectees developed symptoms. Discovered in monkeys. For influenza, it was 1 or 2. But the onset of the Ua virus happened in a mere 12 hours. Osawa viewed an image slideshow of the virus's propagation mechanism. It was a fascinating sight, no matter how many times he looked at it. Viruses existed to multiply, nothing more. They had no motives, no driving logic. Nothing but simple multiplication. To Osawa, that fact held a certain air of mystery. If viruses had emotions, how would they feel about their lives? He had thrown himself into virus research in search of answers to questions like that, answers that no man could truly know. His development of the antiviral agent had really been nothing more than another job responsibility. He felt no particular sense of duty to protect people from a killer virus. He was just happy for the chance to play around with Yua day after day. Another email arrived in his inbox. The sender, A. The subject line, 1 year ago, South Africa, again. Osawa read the message. Do not look away. These are your crimes. This time there were 4 images attached. Osawa proceeded to open each of them in turn. The first shocked Osawa so much that he felt like he'd been punched in the head. One of the Yua patients from the earlier images was being injected with something. No, Osawa muttered to himself. It can't be. The second image showed one of the infected, hunched over in pain, vomiting up blood. The symptoms had already manifested, but Osawa thought he could see that some degree of life had come back into the patient's eyes. He rushed to open the third image. It showed a morgue piled high with corpses. The rictus of anguish on the dead faces made them look no longer human. Various fluids seeped from the eyes and nostrils. The lymph nodes were grotesquely swollen. There were hospital beds stained with massive amounts of blood and gastric fluids. Next came the fourth and final image. More corpses. They had badges affixed to their chests with various labels. 6 hours passed, 12 hours passed, and 18 hours passed. It looked as if someone had been attempting live trials with the antiviral agent. Osawa didn't consider the antiviral agent ready for release, but that was because his team hadn't conducted clinical trials on humans yet. And there was a good reason why such trials hadn't been conducted. There was no way to test the efficiency of the drug without an infected patient. To run a proper clinical test, someone would first need to be infected with the Yua virus. No matter how effective animal testing had been, if the drug proved ineffective on humans, that person would have a guaranteed death sentence. It was unthinkable to run trials that involved such a deadly risk. And yet, as he looked over the images again and again, Osawa became certain. Without his knowledge, someone, presumably someone from Okoshi Pharmaceutical, had conducted human testing with the antiviral agent. The time markers on the corpses in the fourth image were surely there to mark the time elapsed since the onset of symptoms. A thorough trial would test the drug's effectiveness in those time frames. Osawa slammed his fist on the desk and raged. This was nothing short of vile human experimentation in the guise of clinical testing. The people responsible could not be allowed to get away with this. There was only one person Osawa could trust to keep this under wraps, his boss, Makino. He reached for his phone to call Makino, but he stopped short as soon as he picked up the receiver. He knew he was in no state of mind to have a calm, reasoned conversation right now. Turning to the CD player, he put on Aya Kamiki's latest album. Leaning back in his chair, he surrendered himself to her soothing tones. Bit by bit, he could feel himself returning to a calmer emotional state. There had been a time when Osawa hadn't listened to music at all. In fact, he had no interest in the arts in general, music, painting, cinema. It was only due to a simple coincidence that he found Aya Kamiki. His daughter had asked for a CD as a birthday present, so he'd swung by the store to pick one up. Since Kamiki's new album had just come out, there was a display for it in the front of the in the front of the shop. Something about the bright, colorful album packaging had drawn him in. After a time, Osawa could feel himself growing calmer. He took a nice deep breath. Closed his eyes and tried to banish his nerves completely. Inclining his head toward the music, he could feel the melody pervade his body. He could scarcely believe there had been a time where he hadn't cared about music. Surely something that had such a strong effect on the body and mind alike also conveyed a deeper meaning. Osawa let the positive energy flow through him, buoying his spirits. At last, when his mood had sufficiently calmed under the music's influence, Osawa reached for the handset. The study door opened and a stoic-faced man appeared in the doorway. "I beg your pardon, Mr. Osawa. Would you mind coming to the living room for a moment?" The detectives assembled in the living room all wore grave expressions. The room was brimming with tension, and Osawa felt it ramp up even further as he entered. "What is it?" he asked. "Has something happened?" The man who had come to find him turned to speak, hesitating at first. "Yes. It turns out that your other daughter, he told me, has been abducted by an unknown party." Abducted? Osawa's mind whirled. "What are you talking about? Maria's the one who's been abducted." "No, sir, you don't understand. I'm saying that Hitomi has also been abducted in addition to Maria." "Don't be ridiculous." The night before, his daughter Maria got kidnapped, and this morning his other daughter Hitomi gets carried off when she goes to deliver the ransom. He never heard anything more outrageous in his life. "We're sorry, sir. The detective was with her, but..." The police went on to explain that Hitomi had somehow managed to end up all by herself, and while she was alone, several individuals had forced her into a car and driven off. Osawa could barely comprehend what they were saying. His mind was in a fog. The detective's words seemed to grow quieter and quieter. Osawa's strength drained from his body. His ability to process external stimuli began to drift far, far away. It's not possible. It can't be. Could no one keep them safe? Not me. Not anyone. My girls, He told me. Maria. It's not true. This is all just a bad dream. Some kind of sick joke. It's not true. It's not. It's all just a bad dream. It's a lie. It's a twisted joke. Someone made this up. Stop it. Stop saying this. I don't want to hear it. Tell me it's all a lie. Tell me it isn't true. Tell me now, please, that it's a nightmare. Tell me, please, that it isn't true." Slowly, the ceiling began to spin, and Osawa's vision went awash with white. Worst case scenario. Complete mental breakdown. Both his daughter. So for the time being, I don't know about future streams, but I guess I'll break it down into these hour blocks. Even though I did a little bit more, but you know, about the same block. Depending, I don't know. Also, I I'm not used to reading aloud so much, so I apologize for all the stuttering and stuff. I don't talk much, you know, so. But I like to voice act and stuff, so. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. And you look forward to whatever happens next. I'll do my best to cover all the endings, everything. So look forward to that, and I'll see you next time. Bye!